Hey folks, so this is Shetz, and we're going to do SOHCAHTOA word problems. And just a couple words that you need to remember: that here's an angle of elevation from the horizontal up, and the one that always gets kids is an angle of depression from the horizontal down. So here's our first problem. We are standing 50 feet away from the base of a tree at an angle of 71.5 degrees. And we really want to know how tall is the tree. So there's my reference angle right there. This is exactly the opposite. And let me fix that for 1 second. So that's going to be this is the opposite of that angle. And this is my adjacent side, the 50 down here. Therefore, we will have tangent O and A, TOA. And when we do that and plug in all of our numbers, we have x, the opposite, over the adjacent 50. Well, this happens to be a type 1 type of problem, and all I have to do is multiply both sides by 50, and voila, these 50s are going to cancel out, and our answer turns out to be 149.43 feet. Okay, so on our second problem here, we have a bird in a tree, and that happens to be 12 feet off the ground. And it says that we have an angle of depression. Well, we need to draw a horizontal line. And remember, that angle of depression is from the horizontal down. And they would like to know, by the way, if this is 61.25, then by alternating interior angles, because this black and this yellow, they're parallel lines cut by this transversal, we know that this angle down here is also 61.25. They're asking, how far does the bird have to fly to get to the worm? So, as you can see, we have this is the, oops, did it again. This happens to be the opposite side. Here's my angle down here, and this is my opposite side, the 12, and my hypotenuse is what we're trying to find out. So O and H deals with sine. There it is right there, and when we plug in our numbers, we are going to get 12 over x. Well, guess what, folks? That's a type 2 switcheroo, and I'll just make some room down here at the bottom. And when we do the switcheroo, switch the x as well as the sine of 61.25, we get that equation there. And when we plug that into the calculator, we will get a 13.68. That takes care of our second example. We go to our third example. And here we have a river, and we have this guy. So instead of him walking directly 200 yards towards the river, he's going to go along this path at an angle. And guess how far he went? He goes 400 yards. Well, they really want the angle that's between the river and his path. Not this angle over here, that's a right angle. So just the angle between the path and the river. So, as we can see, this happens to be the opposite side of my reference angle. Always go by the reference angle. Last time I gave it to you, this time we're trying to find it. This is the opposite, and across from our right angle is our hypotenuse. So O and H, that deals with sine. Let me make a little bit of room here. And there's my sine. Well, when we plug in our numbers, When we plug in our numbers, we get 200 over 400. Well, since we're finding an angle, we are going to have to arc sine 200 over 400, and when you plug that into the calculator, you're going to get 30 degrees. So this angle right here in pink would be a 30-degree angle. Okay, next, example 4. Here we have a pole that's 40 feet tall, and it creates a 30-foot shadow. Well, they would like to know the angle of elevation. So that would be this angle right down there, that angle of elevation. Okay, well, this happens to be the opposite side, and this side here would be the adjacent side, O and A. Well, guess what? O and A is tangent, and let me make a little bit of room. O and A is tangent right there. And we'll just cover that up like that. And now when we punch in our numbers, there we go. We have tangent is theta is 40 over 30. Well, since we're finding an angle, you have to arctan 40 over 30. And when you plug that into the calculator, our angle is 53.13. So that's the angle of elevation right here, 53.13. And in our last problem, this one's a little more complicated. It's 2 equations in one. And first off, they tell us that the little angle to the base of the smokestack, there's a smokestack, this little angle of elevation is 35 degrees. We also know that if we look at the angle between the top of the smokestack, this big angle here happens to be 53, the whole big angle. We are standing 200 feet away from a point. There's my point. This is 200 feet away, and this is 2 problems in one. Well, if we find the whole big side in pink, which is X, and if we could take away the bottom of the building, and I'll call that Y, notice it's in yellow, the big minus the small will give me just this orange piece at the top, which is what they want to know, is how tall is the smokestack. Well, both of these problems will be a tangent problem because this is the opposite of the pink and this is the opposite of the yellow. And this is the adjacent side down here. So if we took the big pink with the big angle and took away the small angle, the yellow right here, pink minus the yellow will give us the orange, and I think I'll just put a minus sign in between these two right here. That would give us the answer. So here's our first setup right there. We're going to have to multiply both sides by 200. And let me just copy this guy and bring him down. And same thing with this here. I'm going to bring him down. I filled in the Y over opposite over the adjacent. And when we do that, multiply both sides by 200 here, multiply both sides by 200 here, here's what we're going to get. The pink is 265.4, and then this yellow over here, Y, turns out to be 140.04. When we do that subtraction, we will get 125 feet 0.35, and that would be the orange right there. So there you go, folks. If you need any help, text me, send me an email, or put it under comments. Thanks a lot. Take care.